All right, everyone, welcome back to Come Fly With Us, insider information on insurance with Goosehead Insurance. And again, I've got Marcus Becerra with me. Marcus, how's it been going lately?
Man, it's been really good. Thanks for asking.
Going good, going good. So we've got kind of a lengthy question for this week's question. Someone reached out to me and asked me, actually, when I was actually talking to them about their policy, and they asked me, do I really need water damage endorsements on my policy? My current insurance agent says I do not need them, and he can save me money by removing them. So give me some experience in what you've dealt with over the years, because that can be a slippery slope to get out.
Very much so. So that's, the way I like to handle, especially like a new quote or new customers. I quote it, like I'm buying the house myself.
Right.
Usually like to endorse. In the state of Texas, there's 4 water endorsements. Typically, sudden accidental discharge of water is always included. And it's the other 3 that you really have to endorse on there to have the coverage. The second one is water backup, and that's, backing up from a sewer line or a sump or anything like that. The third is what they call foundation coverage or slab leak. Not if the foundation moves any one direction, but if they've actually got to go through the slab to get to a busted pipe. And the fourth one is what they call seepage or water damage. You see it sometimes. And that's an intermittent leak that's been going on for longer than 14 days. But after wind and hail here in Texas, I don't know the specific number, but it's water losses are number 2 cause of claim in the state of Texas. So if you go out of town, on a Friday and your water heater breaks or something happens and you don't come back until Sunday evening and you got water coming out of your garage, you want to make sure that you've got that coverage, because those claims can be very, very costly.
Water is very damaging, and people don't realize how much damage water can do, because, it seeps up into everything if it sits there for a long time. And you're talking about walls and studs and flooring and cabinets and furniture. And, depending on how high the water gets, it could get really crazy.
Yeah, no, and that's the other thing, too, is what I really kind of hammer home sometimes is if the client's going to buy a 2-story home with a restroom or 2 in the second story, if water happens, damage happens upstairs on that top story restroom or water backup, not only is it going to mess that one up, but it's going to go straight down into the first floor and do some damage there as well.
Yeah, I have a perfect example of a client that we sold a house to back in the fall, back in the summer, and we were going over his insurance policy with him, and we were talking about, he's got a 2-story house, right? He's buying. We're talking about the water coverages, and do I really need this? Do I really need that? Is it going to really be important? And I really made sure he understood the importance of having that, because 3 days after he closed, he called me and he said, "Man, I'm so glad you made me get those coverages, because I came back from working overnight." He's a police officer, and the upstairs toilet had been leaking all night. Right? And I'm talking, it went down into the garage, it went down to the hallway, and it did so much damage. And he was so thrilled that I was able to educate him enough to know that he needed to have that coverage. And he was just, I've never seen anyone that excited about having a claim on water. But he was glad for the right reasons, because he had the coverage.
No, but and then, in the grand scheme of things, to endorse all those is pretty minimal if you look at the exact cost, especially in that situation where, there's probably $8,000 or $15,000 worth of damage, But from a personal experience, I bought my house in 2015. 2 months later, I had a hailstorm come through there, and then 2 years later, we had our AC line back up and pretty much ruined all the flooring in my house. So familiar with that claim, and on the front end, we want to make sure that the client and the consumer understands what each one of those is,
right?
What it's going to cost, and the benefits of actually having that coverage on your policy, to have for you whenever That's
I tell you what, we went back and looked, and that particular endorsement that covered all his stuff was only $40 for the whole year.
Simple.
And when you're talking about an $8,000 to a $15,000 water claim, and you're going to complain about paying $40, it's well worth it.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh. And you don't want to come out of pocket with that stuff.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's if the biggest thing I like to talk to folks about is like, hey, this is probably going to be if you're buying a $3 or $500,000 house or even $150,000 house. It might be one of the biggest investments that you've ever made in your lifetime.
Exactly.
Why not pay $200 to have all the water coverages and say, in case a $5,000 or $10,000 claim happens, unless you have that money in cash or whatever. But
Yeah.
it's well worth it to have those endorsements on it.
It really is. I like to tell people insurance is not important until it's important.
Yeah.
And that means it's important when you have something happen.
Yes, sir.
So anyway, thanks for watching this week's tip. Again, share this video with your friends and family. If we can help out in any way, reach out to us. We'll review your policies, and hopefully we can help you out. If not, we'll let you know for sure. Don't forget to subscribe to elliscountyvideos.com. Check out all our other videos on there, and we'll talk to you on next week's segment. Thanks a lot.